I would like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting, December the 7th, 2020, of the Madison County School Board meeting. This is a meeting held in the public with a set agenda. The public will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board at the beginning of the meeting. The sign-in sheet is on the table at the double doors as you enter the boardroom. I would like to thank each of you for joining us tonight as we conduct the business of the Madison County School District. At this time, we will open for prayer. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to lead the prayer, if not, we will have a moment of silence. Okay, if we'll stand for a moment. Ms. Hill will lead the prayer. Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Father God, we just thank you so much for all that you do for us. We thank you, God, for the responsibilities that you give us. And we ask, Lord, that as we make decisions here tonight, that guide the education of our children, that you will give us wisdom, courage to do what needs to be done. Father, I thank you that we have people who are willing to come and serve and to take on the jobs of guiding the education system. Lord, we just thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
We'll pledge the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, again, I would like to welcome each of you to tonight's meeting. At this time, I would like to introduce the people who are in the building at tonight's meeting. We have Dr. Blue from the district office, Mark Bashir from our local CPA who's given a report tonight, Isaac Goyette from the district office, Ms. Robin Hill from the district office, Ms. Becky Bishop from the district office, Ms. Shirley Joseph, our superintendent, Mr. Reeves is here, our attorney, Ms. Gibson, school board member, Ms. Bell, school board member, Mr. Carroll, school board member, and Ms. Williamson is remotely. At this time, we will look at the agenda for tonight. We will be pulling under the consent items 4.5, agreement with Secure Record Solutions. That will be pulled tonight. So under the consent items, you have 4.1, the minutes of November the 17th, 2020, and our organizational meeting from November the 17th, 2020. That's 4.1. 4.2, we have disposal of fixed assets of property. That would include a multitude of items that we are disposing of due to their status. 4.3, we have an agreement with the Florida College Access Network. This is concerning students with their Pell Grants for college. This would be with the high school guidance counselors and trying to get as many students as they possibly can signed up for this. And 4.4 is the Title IX Part A Education of Homeless Children and Youth Project, worth $38,787. That is the consent items on the agenda. Is there,
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
okay. Ms. Gibson has properly moved to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williamson. Is there discussion on the items?
I'd like to go back to this disposal of fixed assets. Just how do we actually dispose of them?
Okay,
I know there's many on the list. Much on the
I can
list.
start with the larger items, for example, the old buses and things like that. What they're going to do, they're going to go down to the junkyard and see what's the price they could get if they junk it, and then they're going to try to auction them off, and that would be the minimum bid they would take. And so we're not just junking them, we are going to get residual value as much as possible out of the items. For the computers, Isaac will have to answer that, what he's going to do with that.
Most everything on the list was hauled off by the recycler a couple of weeks ago. We got $13,000.
$13,000.
Okay.
A couple truckloads.
So we're actually getting some money for it then. That's okay. Thank you.
But
Okay.
we will be getting some money
Yeah.
for the old, vehicles. We just don't know how, it's at least the junk value.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions concerning the consent items? If there are no other questions, it's been properly moved by Ms. Gibson, seconded by Ms. Williamson. All those in favor? Mr. Carroll?
Approved.
Ms. Bell?
Approve.
Ms. Gibson?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approve.
And I approve. Ms. Bishop, that's 5-0 for approval. Okay, items 5.1, internal audit report. Ms. Joseph?
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is the time of the year when we have a review from our local CPA about the audit, as the status of the audit of the internal accounts, and Mr. Boucher will come at this time and do his presentation.
I'm gonna remove my mask, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yes.
Otherwise, may only hear half of it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here this evening. As usual, I have a summary handout I want to pass around, and I apologize to Ms. Williamson. It didn't click with me that somebody might be remote, or else I could have provided this ahead of time, but perhaps you can forward it to her. It's just a summary of really the audit reports that you have, online anyway, so I'm going to just pass these around real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to give the rest to y'all. Okay, if we take a look at page 1 of the summary, first I'd like to state, as usual, let me mention this. I noticed on the agenda, it lists internal audit report, and what this is actually an external audit report of internal funds.
Okay.
So, because we're external auditors, meaning we have independence, and we go through extensive procedures just to document our independence from the school and the school board, so that we can properly provide opinions on these 5 school internal
Do
funds.
we need to redo our agenda at that time?
I don't think you need to redo the agenda. I think on the minutes, I would make sure that it's plainly stated that it's an audit of the internal accounts
It's the
by
external.
Boucher, Mark, what's your firm name now?
It's-
Boucher and Company.
Yeah. And again, technically an external audit. Sometimes you can have an internal audit provided by staff members,
Okay.
So that's the difference. I just thought I'd kind of clarify that. We conducted our audits of all 5 of the school internal funds in accordance with government auditing standards, just as usual. And government auditing standards are a layer of standards on top of regular auditing principles that we provide. So it's more extensive. And the main difference is with governmental auditing standards, we provide a more detailed and comprehensive review of internal controls and actually issue a report. And that's primarily what I'm going to go over this evening. Just to mention to you, our audit this year, we incurred 273 hours for the 5 schools. All 5 schools, we are issuing unmodified opinions, which is basically a clean opinion, which is good. We did not encounter any significant difficulties with any of the bookkeepers or management and so forth. Just want to clearly communicate that. In fact, I'll say this year was probably one of the smoothest years that we've had in quite some time. And the number of findings, which I'll go over in just a minute, are substantially less than what we've had. And last year, I think I reported everything was, very favorable compared to prior years. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Before I get into the summary, I don't know if you've got your actual audited financial statements in front of you.
We
but I'm
have
just-
them.
Okay, I'm just going to go just a quick review, not go into details unless you've got questions. But as part of the packet that we submitted, over a week ago, part of that, we have our audit report, which states that, basically the procedures that we performed and our responsibility and the school's responsibility and so forth. And then, for instance, I'm looking at the statement from Madison County High School. If you want to flip to that just a minute. And if you want to flip over past the cover page, past the contents, past the reports, and we're actually it's labeled page 3 at the bottom.
Okay.
So the financial statements are laid out like this for all 5 schools. And the high school, for instance, consists of, I didn't count up, but usually around 55 to 60 different internal funds. They're the largest, obviously. And we break that down in our summary that's presented here by type of entity or club account or whatever the fund may be. And you can kind of look at those details. We begin with beginning cash plus the total receipts less disbursements equals the ending cash balance in each of those funds. And so, for instance, and I'll go over this in just a second, but like for the high school, they have total cash balance as of June 30th of a little over $154,000, broken down by all those categories. Then behind the actual financial statements, we have notes to the financial statement, which consist of a couple pages. These are required disclosures in accordance with our standards. These are all on a cash basis of reporting. If this was an accrual basis, it'd be really a different format. But and then beginning on page 8, which is, it's not labeled down at the bottom, but this is our report on internal control. And we've got one of these for each of the schools. And then the very last page in this particular example, on page 10, is a list of our findings, how it's in violation, what the cause is, what the effect is, what our recommendation is, and management's response. Each of the schools have to respond to our findings. So with that said, what I'm going to do is shift back over to the summary, and let's go through that real quick. And as I go through this, please don't hesitate to interrupt me if you've got a question. Let's go to page 2. This is a summary of the findings and summary of the total cash receipts during the year, not the balances, but the cash receipts. And out of all 5 schools, we had no material weaknesses, which is, I think, very, very, very positive. No significant deficiencies. We did have some non-compliance issues where they just weren't in compliance with school board policy or maybe, the state regs and so forth, but it wasn't considered a material weakness or significant deficiency. Material weakness is a weakness in internal control in which there could be a problem, an irregularity or an error or something, and it could be material and it never get detected. So it's pretty significant when we have something like that. And we've had those in the past. A significant deficiency is a deficiency or maybe a combination of deficiencies in internal control that's less severe than a material weakness, but it's important enough for me to bring it to your attention. Then below that is the compliance issues, and that's what we have here. For Madison County High School, we had 2. The Central School, we had 1. For Pinetta, we had 2. Greenville, we had none. And Greenville, in the past years, has been our biggest problem, and this year we had none, which is a tremendous improvement. Lee had 1 non-compliance finding. In fact, below that, you can see the number of findings for 2013, like Greenville last year had 3, but the prior year and the prior years prior to that, over the last 5-10 years, they've been pretty strong with the number of findings. So anyway, let's turn to page 3, and we'll review these real quickly here. because some of these are very comparable. The main issue is this first one for the high school, in which it's a non-compliance issue in which there's purchases over $1,000 that were not competitively bid. And actually, during our testing, we don't test 100% of the transactions, but we test a large percentage based on a formula that we use and using standards and all. We found 3 different instances of which there was not competitive bidding. Now, the school board policy states that no purchase may be made by a school amounting to over $1,000, including series or groups of purchases, unless you've got 3 or more written competitive bids based on certain specifications that are the same manner as the purchasing department. These 3, for instance, one was for $1,018. It was relative to the band. Another one, $1,470 for Farmers Co-op for the FAA. And then another one for $4,042 for baseball attire. And we've got, this policy has changed. My understanding, it changed sometime this year. It's much more restrictive than what the school board has, because your policy states $10,000. But then again, we're dealing with a lot of smaller transactions here. I'll come back to that, and I've got maybe a suggestion, but it's really up to y'all to make that decision. And Ms. Jones may have some comments on it when I'm done here, too.
Joseph,
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I know that. Don't know where I got Jones from, but. Okay, the second issue under the high school was a non-compliance issue, and we have an example of that. And this is an instance where there were debit card transactions that were completed prior to approval, okay? And we'll kind of briefly discuss that in just a minute too. But if you want to, we'll flip over to page 6. There is a Shirley Jones somewhere. I think she might have been a
Okay.
movie star or something. So, page 6. This is a check requisition, and it was, as you can see, there's transactions going from December 13th through the 19th, various ones on this particular one, but it was dated December 31st, and there was no authorization form. It was just printed out on this. So I feel like there needs to be some discussions on what you can do with debit card transactions or even EFT transactions, because you'll probably start seeing a little bit more of that, as time moves on. And there's really no, there's just no provisions for it, but there needs to be something laid out. Let's go down to the Central School on page 3. This is an instance where a check was issued that lacked both an approved requisition and the principal's signature. And sometimes in the past, we have seen that. And if you flip over to page 7, you'll see that this was a check written, which Ms. Davis signed it, but not the principal, both the check and the requisition. So it's a violation of both the bylaws and policies of the school board, and also per the Florida DOE Red Book, it clearly states purchases from internal funds must be authorized in writing by the principal or designee. So, really in violation of both of those there. So we stress that every year, but sometimes it always seems like there's several instances that kind of slip through the cracks. So let's slip to the next page, page 4, and let's take a look at Pinetta. They've got 2 issues. One was the same as the high school, which there were 2 instances that didn't have competitive bidding. One was for the playground equipment, a little over $9,300. The other was to Annette bus lines for $1,700 something. And of course, as y'all realize, anytime you're purchasing something, sometimes the availability of certain purchases, for instance, bus lines, may be a little bit tougher to find, and it's harder to find competitive bids, but there are others, you know, whether it's Tallahassee or Valdosta or wherever. But so anyway, so they had those two issues there. Also, Pinetta had an issue where there was a disbursement out of the wrong account, of which all of these funds are really fiduciary funds, and they're held in what's the correct word? I guess the school itself has a fiduciary duty to oversee these funds and make sure they're properly dispersed out of the right account and so forth. So Pinetta had an issue, and that's on page 8, and this is where there was a disbursement that should have been from the library account, but the PTO account was entered on the requisition. So actually on that page, that example, those are two different items, or two different sheets of paper. One's a check requisition at the top, and down below is just a copy out of the ledger so that you could see it. So that's just an example there. If we flip back over to page 4 for Lee Elementary, we've got the same issue there where there wasn't competitive bidding. And there were 3 instances. And I believe all these related to the playground. Like there was $4,931 to Beyond Your Ordinary. I think it's just called Beyond Your Ordinary. That's for playground equipment. There was another one for $1,450 to National Playground Construction, and then $2,200 to tent builders. And so those did not receive any type of competitive bids, which again is in violation with the school board or district policy. Flip to page 5. So the common themes here are that first item, in the area of disbursements. In this area included check requisitions completed after the disbursement, which we seem like we always have some. Their kind of transaction takes place and they go back and try to document it, and quite often they make errors in that documentation. They don't pay attention to the dates, really. So that, you know, the documentation may be done dated well after the transaction. But anyway, in number 1 also we mentioned that the common theme, as you can see in 3 or maybe 4 schools, was the lack of competitive bidding. Now, with that said, my suggestion would be for the board to take a look at that policy and maybe consider changing that. $1,000 may be a little low to require that. You may bump it up, and Ms. Joseph and I talked about it when we met, you know, roughly a week and a half ago. But you may want to consider bringing that up, but maybe not to the same height as the regular school board purchasing department, because $10,000 is really probably a little high for the number, the level of transactions going through here, because we've got a lot of small stuff going through it, you know. So,
What would you recommend?
That's what I'm wondering.
I would probably take it up to maybe $2,500. That's just my opinion.
And we probably also need to look at the type of transactions. For example, would we want to bid out a trip to Disney World? Certain things you wouldn't bid,
Right.
certain things would probably be excluded from the bidding, but it would probably need to come before the board before they spend that amount of money.
That's
or
right.
Something of that sort.
It could just maybe require Ms. Joseph's approval or something like that. If it's a type of transaction that competitive bidding isn't practical. If you got a trip to Disney World, you can't get competitive bids on Disney World tickets. You know, you can on the bus line, even that's, you know, a little tougher, but you probably can. So there may be some provisions or some language in there that states, you know, in the event that competitive bidding is not feasible, then there's another procedure you could go through if it's over X number of dollars. And you know, that's something we can discuss more, but, you know, probably $2,500 is a good level. Again, that's just another safeguard, another internal control on top of what you've got. Because like if you got the bookkeeper and the principal signing off on a requisition plus on checks, that's two people. So it takes two people to be in collusion to kind of, you know, circumvent the system, you know. And there's other safeguards. So all these safeguards come together. And they're all important collectively, but that's just my thoughts, so.
I'll draft something, I'll get something drafted and bring it back to the board.
And generally, as external auditors, our job is not necessarily to make recommendations. The board is to audit the funds. So, but I'll be happy to kind of give my
Okay.
thoughts and suggestions there. Because again, it's important for us to stay as fully independent as possible. So the second common theme, really, and I would suggest, as I already mentioned, with disbursements for debit card transactions or maybe some EFT transactions, you know, you don't have a check to have two dual signatures, but there needs to be some provisions. You know, particularly the check requisition needs to be done in advance. But right now, I think, on the check requisition, there's a place to sign for both the sponsor and the principal to approve it. There just needs to be some thought put into debit card transactions. There aren't many, but, because that can be a very loose area. That tends to be where you sometimes see more fraud, you know, those types of transactions, because it's too easy to do.
I wonder if we might ought to see what some other districts are doing with debit cards, because that is of concern, you know, that's easy to, you know, maybe see if Leon County or Blatchford, one of
Okay.
those guys has a good policy.
What would we be doing with debit cards, with testing, like ACT and those types of tests? I mean,
I didn't realize we had
Debit.
access to debit cards.
yeah,
We need to find out who has access. Someone's got access to it.
The high school has an act. Okay. I really wouldn't know why they would, because for spending, you've got to have it authorized before and with the exact amount. And I just don't understand that.
And these transactions were to IBT Fingerprint, U.S. Fingerprint Company, you know.
Yeah, on page 6 is that, I mean, all of these are debits, right, or debit cards.
yeah.
That's right.
That is Xanthi, Fingerprint.
Yeah. You know, you could say, well, we're just going to prohibit debit card transactions and so forth. I mean, a lot of businesses prohibit, credit card company prohibit credit card use. But there's some cases that they may require some
Yep.
kind of electronic. You know, for instance, this company, I don't know. But that's why you need some provisions and, you know, the best thing to do is just limit the use of it. Because again, I probably have seen more fraud in credit cards and debit cards than anything because it doesn't usually follow the regular flow of transactions.
Like
I wonder-
this bottom one was CVS, I mean, they would have taken a check.
Yeah, I wonder if this could be some of the exams with some of your CTE classes.
I don't know who would need a fingerprint. I don't know why.
And this is just one example of December. Imagine, if, you know, if I had copies of all the months, there's probably more.
So this is only December.
That's
So
right.
in
This
other
was just
words,
an example I wanted
This
to
is a
show you.
snapshot.
Yeah.
We know that at the high school, they're using a debit card.
Right.
But it could be other schools as well.
You know, probably the first step that y'all need is to bring back, you know, exactly who has debit cards and what they're being used for and all that, so y'all can decide what you want your policy to be. You know, if somebody's got a good reason they've got to have one, that's fine, but they need to, you know, y'all need to know that so you can decide what you want to do.
And my purpose of presenting this was just merely to show that the requisition was dated well after the transaction took place, you know, so. Any questions? That's really covers my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you got any.
Are there any questions? I appreciate all your hard work in this audit. This is a lot better than what we have had in the past with deficiencies and areas that were problem areas, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And thank you for bringing this to our attention, so we'll be aware of what's going.
And prevent any possible problems in the future.
Yes,
That's the
that's right.
purpose of internal
Yeah.
controls, is to make sure things that aren't supposed to happen don't happen. So, okay?
Okay,
All right,
thank
thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Okay, item 5.2, the student progression plan, Ms. Hill.
It's time for a hearing, isn't it?
It is, but it's a public hearing, but we need to let Robin. I can't hear you.
Do we have to approve the audits?
Yeah, you probably do. And you're not really approving them, you're accepting them.
Do we have to accept, we have to formally accept the
Yes.
audit?
Yeah, so you probably need a motion in
Okay.
a second. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Sorry, I've jumped the gun here. Back on 5.1, is there a motion to approve the,
Accept.
to accept the audit of the internal audit report of the schools by CPA Bashir?
I made the motion. Accept.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approved.
Ms. Bell, Ms. Gibson,
Approve?
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay, now Ms. Hill, with the student progression plan.
Okay, I presented some changes that we wanted to make for this year only to the student progression plan, mainly to address some of the concerns with the number of students that we have who are virtual, who are not being successful, and we needed to find a way to help them get back on track. And so we needed to make some adjustments to promotion criteria. And so that has been advertised, and now I think can open it up for discussion.
Okay. At this time, we will open it for public hearing for discussion concerning the pupil progression plan. Okay, if there's no comments or discussion, okay. So at this time, we will close it. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion by a board member to approve the student progression plan?
I'll make the motion to approve the student progression plan.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Is there any discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, since it's properly moved by Ms. Williamson, seconded by Ms. Gibson, all those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approved.
Ms. Bell, Ms. Gibson,
Approve?
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I approve. 5-0, Ms. Dickey. Ms. Bishop, sorry.
Thank you.
Having these slips here. Okay, 5.3, the Madison Creative Arts Academy Charter, Ms. Joseph.
Mr. Chairperson, I bring for you, we need to do some corrections to the charter. We approved the charter for Madison Creative Arts last summer, and we did not have an ending date, and I'm bringing before you, I want to add the ending date to be June 30th, 2025. They are a high-performing charter school, and the law says that if they are a high-performing charter school, they are entitled to a 15-year contract. And so that is just rightfully giving them their due.
But the term is 7/1/2020, ending 6/30/2025. That's only 5 years. I think
35.
I think we mean
No,
2035.
That should be 35.
Yeah.
Mine has 35.
In the,
It's a 15-year charter.
Right. So the ending date needs to be 35, not 25.
Right.
So y'all can approve it that way, but you can just say.
Okay.
They want a 15-year contract, and we're just putting it the correct ending date.
okay, with that being said, this is a 15-year contract beginning July the 1st, 2020, ending date June the 30th, 2035. Is there a motion to approve the 15-year contract with Creative Arts Academy?
I move to
I'll make the
approve.
motion to approve the charter, 15-year charter ending June the 30th, 2035.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson. Is there a second?
Second.
Who's second?
Well, it doesn't,
Ms. Bell seconded. So it's been properly moved by Ms. Williamson, a second by Ms. Bell. Is there any discussion? Okay, if there's no discussion, Mr. Carroll?
Approve.
Ms. Bell? Approve. Ms. Gibson?
approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approve.
And I approve, 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Okay, 5.4, personnel changes, Dr. Blue.
Good evening, Brother Chair and board members. I ask that the board approve personnel changes 5.4 at this time.
Okay. 5.4 is our personnel changes. Is there a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I made the motion to approve the personnel changes.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Ms. Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. It's been properly moved by Ms. Bell, seconded by Ms. Gibson. All those in favor, Mr. Carroll.
Approve.
Ms. Bell.
Approve.
Ms. Gibson.
Approve.
Ms. Williamson.
Approve.
And I approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
Thank you, Brother
Thank
Chair
you.
and board.
Thank
Let me-
you.
Let me ask Mr. Bell, Mr. Blue something.
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be possible to supply the board with the employee names for each school?
Yes,
In other
ma'am.
words, we'd like to know and what they do at the school.
Yes, ma'am. I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item 6.1, superintendent items, Ms. Joseph.
Mr. Chair, we're at that time. I have a couple of things I need to talk about. First thing I want to say congratulations to the football team. They did participate in I think this was the semifinals, and like I said, job well done. A couple of other things I would like to, before we get anything, we need to appoint a board member to represent the district for the Small School District Council Consortium. That was one that we left off the other night. Now, do you want to know who was appointed at the other ones? Last meeting, the Value Adjustment Board, Mr. Carroll, for the legislative representative, Mr. Alford, Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Bell, and Fisbit, Ms. Gibson. And now we need someone, it can be, you can double dip if you like, is a Small School District Council Consortium. And I don't know when they meet, but I need a board member on that.
I don't mind doing it since I'm the legislative.
Okay, thank you so much.
I mean,
Okay, we got that. Okay, a couple other things at
Then
your,
you do a motion second.
okay. Do we need a motion for that?
I would think, yeah.
Okay.
okay. At this time, is there a motion to approve me as the small district consortium representative for the district?
I make a motion.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Bell. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. It's been properly moved by Mr. Carroll, seconded by Ms. Bell. For those in favor, Mr. Carroll,
Approve.
Ms. Bell,
Approve.
Ms. Gibson,
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
and I approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop.
I think that should be it for the year for those. But at your place, we have our Teachers of the Year, our school site Teachers of the Year. And we've announced that, and it's also on our website. And also at your place, for the Teacher Enhancement Grant, you've seen we are going into an impasse. And it just states the Madison County School Board has been in continuous negotiation with the teachers union. While we agreed to an annual minimum salary of $39,206, we were not able to agree upon the compensation amount for the 20% group. At this point, it appears that we're going into an impasse. So I think we've got one more little company, discussion with the board, and then we'll find out whether we're going to impasse or not. But that's what we're offering, and it's the 20%, that's the group we cannot agree upon.
So what you're saying, in clarification, that the union still could decide to accept it, or,
Yes, they still could
Okay.
decide.
okay? Any other items, Ms. Joseph?
That's it, thank you, sir.
Okay, 6.2, attorney items.
No, sir, no items, unless y'all have questions.
No, sir, I don't have a question. Does any other board member have a question for the attorney? Okay, no questions. Okay, now it's board member items. Mr. Carroll, we start with you.
I don't have any.
You don't have anything? Okay. Ms. Bell?
I would like to say congratulations to the Teachers of the Year and congratulations to the football team. They did an outstanding job. I'm very proud of them, the coaches and the players.
Okay. Ms. Gibson? any-
Yes, I'd like to congratulate the Madison County Cowboys on a successful season. Job well done. I'd like to congratulate the Teacher of the Year. I know many of them. I've taught actually with some of them, and it's a very good list. I'm very happy with that. And I'd like to also congratulate the people who handle the monies at each school on a job well done this past year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Williamson?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate the football team and the Teachers of the Year. We're very proud of each and every one of them. And I'd also like to thank all the schools and the bookkeepers and everybody for being due diligence with our funds and how the things should be done. And a special thanks to Greenville for having no findings. It's been a long time since we had a school with none.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williamson. I would, this past week, I had the opportunity to participate in training through the Florida School Board Association, virtual training, which many others did also here on the board. I would like to also congratulate the Teachers of the Year from Lee, Deborah Sauls, Pinetta, Ashley Tyler, Greenville, Natalie Irvine, Creative Arts, Melanie Parks, Central, Pre-K through 5, Danielle Altman, 6 through 8, Joey Moy. For Madison County High School, Marissa Block. For James Madison Preparatory High School, Donna Law. And Waypoint, Jennifer Reed. I would like to congratulate again all of these teachers. It's a special award and honor that they've received, and I just congratulate them and celebrate with them. I too would like to congratulate the football team on their successful season. The game Friday night, although they didn't win, they did do a great job and showed a lot of class and in adversity, and I just appreciate them for choosing to act the way they acted and not fall into act a different way. But I do appreciate that, and it shows the growth in them and the program and just them as student athletes. And I celebrate with all of them on all their accomplishments, the coaches, the team, and the community, because we did represent the community well in Gainesville during the game, and I was just real proud of them for what they did. And I just want to wish everyone in the district a Merry Christmas and continue to practice safe social habits, social distancing, hand washing, to try to decrease the corona as much as we can, and get ready for Christmas break, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And that's all I have tonight. So that's all of board members. We had 7.1 as comments from the public. We had, at the beginning, we have no one here but district staff. So, Mr. Blue, do you have any comments? Okay, so if there's no comments, is there a motion to adjourn?
I made the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Bell to adjourn, properly moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gibson. So the motion's been made by Ms. Bell, seconded by Ms. Gibson. Mr. Carroll?
Approve.
Ms. Bell? Ms. Gibson?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approved.
And I approve. 5-0, Ms. Bishop. Have a good night and safe week, or 2 weeks. Thank you.